Hello, welcome back to Deconstructing with Dawn. I have filmed this probably 76 times today, and I'm hoping I can get through this. Basically, I have an update on the ancestry, so that'll be the beginning of this. If you're just interested in that, you can listen to it and move along with your life. The next two parts are just a little weird. And my dog is in a mood, so I'm sure to be interrupted for the 50th time of this. But first part, ancestry. On Saturday, I got my second highest match and in total ever, and my first highest match to my father's side. It's my third cousin. My great aunt is his grandmother, no question at all. We are related. So candidate number 3 is my father, without a doubt. So I'm sure he's looking at the thing going, who is this? But because nobody knows about me other than my aunt. And his last name is candidate number 2's last name. So I was like, oh my God, I almost died. I was going to start all over again. But it's not. We're related through candidate number 3. I've been going to the Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints Church, and there's a gentleman on Tuesday that will help me fill out a Veterans Affairs Form DD 214, I think it is, where you get like the military dossier of active duty of someone. And because my father was in the Marine Corps, he's hoping that to get some military information might give me geographical whereabouts. However, I don't think that would be the case because there's been such a lapse in time. Unless he's getting like current benefits, which I don't know if they'll share that with you, or if he goes to like this Veterans Affairs hospital or whatever, I don't know. That would be a HIPAA violation. So I don't know what kind of information I'm going to get, but if I can get something, it's better than zero that I have right now. Lastly, on that topic, I feel like my aunt is kind of pulling away a little bit. They're going through some major medical issues right now with a nephew, would be a cousin of mine, and I'm the last thing that anybody needs to worry about. So if she's just preoccupied, I'm completely fine with that. The information she's given me is worth gold, and if we don't have a relationship, I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm not looking for a daddy, and I'm not looking for a family. I had a big, beautiful family that everybody's died off of, and all that matters to me is my nucleus family. You know, my husband and daughters and son and my sister. That's all I care about. So if I don't have any more, that's fine. And I completely understand. I went about this the wrong way. I went like a bull in a china shop and didn't give any option of anything else being the case. And she was very graceful, very generous, and just loving right away. And I'm sure now it's like, wait a second, I need to back up a little bit. So I completely understand, and I don't fault her for that. So that's the end of the DNA stuff. If you want to move on, you can move on. Today is the 13th anniversary of my mother's death. And so normally it's a sad day. Everybody knows to leave me alone because I'm a raving bitch. And pity party galore. However, this year I'm a little mad. So I'd rather be mad than sad. That's just my temperament. I'm a fiery redhead, and I would rather be mad than sad. So that's fine. I don't care. I know it's not the right way to think about things, and you probably all have your own opinion of your parents' loss if you've unfortunately lost them, but this is my truth right now, and right now I'm just mad. But I thought I would start the day off with thinking about how it would be her view. What was she feeling that she thought this was so important to keep from me? My mom's oldest friend that told me who my father was said that she was afraid that who I thought was my father would kill her or him, and he didn't even know about me, so he'd be like shocked. And he probably would have. He is he was manic depressive, probably not on meds, a young buck, probably would have hurt them if not killed them. And so I don't know. So I was thinking, okay, then maybe that's the case. However, I then cut to 6 months before she died. We're visiting, candidate number 1 in prison, and they're sitting there holding hands and reminiscing, and I'm sitting across the table going, oh, my parents are together. What? The whole facade was kept up 6 months before she died. And at this point, I'm 32 years old or 31 years old. She could have told me then. So I don't know. I don't know why. Then I cut to the very last words she said on this earth were to me. She was in the hospital. I had come and I'd given her a bath, washed her hair, braided it because it kept getting in her face. And I put lotion on her feet because her favorite thing in the world is to have her feet rubbed. And she tells me, we're good, right? And I'm like, yeah, Mom, we're good. And that was the last thing she ever said in this world was to me were good, right? And I wanted to placate her and make her feel good. And yeah, Mom, we're good. I knew then we weren't good because, you know, I had always had these doubts and regrets and all this in my mind. So, but, you know, I was always her mother and I wanted her to feel okay. And so I said, you know, lied and said, we're good. And we weren't good, and we're not good right now. Just, she died the next day. Nobody had ever heard her voice again. She died of multi-organ failure. She had hepatitis A, B, and C. Whatever food one was caused because we went to Tijuana, which was a common thing. We don't live too far from Tijuana. We're like 3 hours away. And, you know, it was 2-for-1 margaritas and all-you-can-eat tacos. And, you know, she picked up a bug. The B and C, she was a nurse. And there wasn't protocol for, you know, worrying about needles or anything back in the day. And she was also manic depressive, bipolar, and would have highs and lows and would be a binge drinker, and her liver just couldn't handle it and aided in her getting, you know, the hepatitis. So for the last year of her life, she got, every Wednesday I gave her a shot. It was chemo, basically. It's interferon. And her numbers were doing good, and she just had 1 year of it. January 1st was her last treatment. By January 13th, she had taken such a bad turn. Her stomach was huge that it drained fluid off of her. She was so bad, it was from the liver just giving up. And so I had to take her to the hospital, and she didn't ever come home. So January 13th is an important date, and January 27th is the day she died. So cut to the third part of my story. On Friday the 13th this year, I'm watching Paranormal investigation show on TV, which my mom was all into that kind of stuff, and so am I. And all of a sudden, my phone rings at 1:13 a.m. And I'm like, what? And it says Mom. And I literally just went white as a ghost. And I answer the phone, and it's like this kind of sound, right? So I take the phone, I'm like, Mom, hello? And I go down the hallway, and I go to my husband's man cave, and I'm like, my mom's on the phone. And he's like, you don't have a mom. And I'm like, exactly. And then I put the phone back to my ear, and it stopped. So I immediately call back twice, and I get this, and then it cuts out. Third and fourth time, it almost like it's going through, and then says call drop. So I look at the contacts on the phone, and it says my mom's email of UC Joycey Sue. My mom's name was Joyce Suzanne. So that was her email, and I'm like, what is going on here? I look at the prefix of the phone, I do a search of it, and the prefix of the phone is not local, it is from where she was born, okay? I screenshot all this stuff so I wouldn't forget it. I put it on Facebook. Everybody's like, whoa. And then I remember that the Sunday before we threw away her phone because we were going through a downsizing. So we threw away her phone. My husband's like, you don't need this anymore. I'm like, no. So my phone number that I have now is only about 10 years old, and she died 13 years ago. Her phone number would have been a local area code. So none of this matches. None of this makes any sense. So the next day at like 5:30 in the morning, I get a call from my mother-in-law, who I do not have on my phone. That's my husband's mother. And she's like, Dawn, why were you calling me at 5:30? I'm like, I didn't call you. And I'm like, oh, it's her. She called me. And I'm thinking, well, I still think, why does she have my mom's, email, and why is the phone number weird and all this? And she's like, no, you called me. And I said, no, look at your phone. You called me at 1:13 in the morning. And she's like, no, I did not. My phone was off and unplugged. She just had surgery and she's trying to get sleep. So her phone wasn't even on. So that third and fourth call that I made was actually to her somehow. But none of the numbers line up. Okay, so cut to tonight. My sister calls me because we have this annual, pity party. And we're both kind of angry right now because she's now worried about who her father might be. And I'm telling her this story because she saw it on Facebook, but she didn't know the whole thing. And I'm saying, the noises that we're making. And then we're done talking about it, and we go on to another subject. And all of a sudden, this interference comes in, and it's all... And I'm like, oh my God. And I start shaking and getting teary-eyed and scared. And it just starts climbing. And I'm yelling my sister's name. Can you hear this? Can you hear this? Can you hear this? And it just started to climb to a escalation. So I'm like, I hung up. I was getting scared. And so I called my sister back and I said, did you hear that? And she's like, no, I just heard you screaming my name. And I said, there was some major interference that just came through, and we were both freaking out. Anyway, so I don't think my mom likes that I'm airing her dirty laundry. Although she would be the first one on Facebook telling this kind of story. But anyway, I don't think she's happy about this. And, you know, may she rest in peace. I now know her greatest secret. Maybe she's comforted. Maybe she's trying to get a hold of me to say I'm sorry. I don't know. But that is my update. That is my story. That is my honoring my mother today is oddness, which is our family. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll update next time I know something new.